46 years ago today, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald sank in Lake Superior. All 29 crew members aboard died.
The Edmund Fitzgerald. What really happened? It was supposed to be unsinkable, a floating fortress of steel. But on the night of November 10th, 1975, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald vanished without a trace in the icy waters of Lake Superior. No distress call, no flares, just silence. 29 men were lost in a matter of minutes, and for nearly 50 years, the mystery of what truly happened haunted experts, sailors, and families alike.
Look at that, it's just completely shredded, mangled, yeah.
It's like no man's land.
I didn't realize just how severe the damage was in between the two sections.
But now, thanks to cutting-edge underwater technology, we finally have answers, and they change everything. The legend of the mighty Fitz. When she launched in 1958, the Edmund Fitzgerald was the largest ship on the Great Lakes. At 729 feet long, she was longer than 2 football fields. A behemoth of steel designed to carry 26,000 tons of iron ore across some of the most dangerous freshwater routes in the world. She was a symbol of pride and power. Crowds would gather to watch her glide into harbors.
Now to Michigan, where mourners will pay tribute today to one of the most famous maritime tragedies in modern history, the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Her crew called her the pride of the American side. Captain Ernest McSorley was one of the most experienced men on the water, with over 40 years of sailing on the Great Lakes. He trusted his ship, he trusted his crew. But the lakes don't care about reputations, especially not in November. Sailors call it the Witch of November, a season where hurricane-force winds, blinding snow, and 30-foot waves can strike without warning. And on November 9th, 1975, that witch awakened. The Fitzgerald left Superior, Wisconsin, loaded with taconite pellets, and headed for Detroit. Another ship, the Arthur M. Anderson, agreed to sail nearby for safety. The forecast warned of a storm, but storms are common in November. No one expected this one to rewrite history.
In the area where the Fitzgerald went down, a sister ship joined the search, but so far all that was found was an oil slick, life jackets, and an empty lifeboat.
The final voyage. By the next morning, the storm had grown into a monster. Winds hit 80 miles per hour. Waves climbed as high as 35 feet. Snow reduced visibility to near zero. The ships lost radar. Navigation became guesswork. At 3:30 p.m., Captain McSorley radioed the Anderson. "We have a bad list. We've lost 2 vents, and the radar is out, but the pumps are working." They pressed on. What else could they do? At 7:10 p.m., Anderson called again. "How are you doing, Fitzgerald?" McSorley's final words, "We are holding our own." 5 minutes later, the Fitzgerald disappeared from radar. Gone. No SOS. No wreckage. Just gone.
Spiritual type thing, I think you might want to, I think I might say it's spiritual in that it's the voice of the ship.
3 days later, the wreck was found in 2 pieces, 530 feet below the surface. The bow sat upright. The stern lay 170 feet away, upside down. How could a ship this massive break apart so quickly, without a single cry for help? The investigation initial reports from the Coast Guard blamed human error. They claimed the crew failed to properly secure the cargo hatch covers. Water flooded in. The ship sank. But families and fellow sailors didn't buy it. These men were professionals, experienced, careful. They wouldn't overlook something so basic. Alternative theories emerged. Some blamed rogue waves, known as the Three Sisters, a deadly phenomenon where 3 massive waves hit in rapid succession, overwhelming even the strongest ships. Others suggested the ship ran aground on a hidden reef, fatally damaging the hull. But no clear evidence was found, so the mystery remained. Until now. The breakthrough. A new expedition, armed with state-of-the-art underwater drones and 4K imaging, descended to the wreck site. Their mission, a full forensic survey. What they found stunned everyone. The cargo hatch clamps weren't just loose. Many were missing entirely. Others were bent backward, twisted like paper clips under massive pressure. It was as if a can opener had ripped the ship apart. But this wasn't just the result of the storm. Something else was wrong. Then they found it. The smoking gun. A sheared-off air vent left a 4-inch hole leading directly into the cargo hold. A hole that bypassed the hatch covers entirely. In simulations, that small gap allowed thousands of gallons of water per minute to flood the ship, even while the deck appeared normal. Captain McSorley knew they lost vent covers, but he couldn't have known the damage was already fatal. The taconite pellets in the hold acted like a sponge. They absorbed water, adding weight without triggering immediate alarm. From the bridge, everything seemed manageable, but beneath the surface, the bow was drowning, quietly, relentlessly. When the bow finally dipped too low, it plunged under a massive wave. The stern lifted, and the steel structure snapped under the stress. It took just seconds. The ship didn't sink. It shattered. The fatal flaw. The new evidence pointed to a design flaw, one that had gone unnoticed for years. The vents and hatches weren't strong enough to withstand the unique pressure of Lake Superior's storms. Combined with aging steel and possibly metal fatigue from thousands of voyages, the Fitz was vulnerable. Not because of her crew, not because of a rogue wave, but because the very thing that made her mighty, her size and power, was built on a silent weakness. The Edmund Fitzgerald was a ticking time bomb. The human cost. These weren't just names on a crew list. These were husbands, fathers, sons. There was 21-year-old deckhand Carl Peckall on just his second voyage. There was first mate John McCarthy, who had planned to retire at the end of the shipping season, and of course, Captain Ernest McSorley, just weeks from retirement himself. They never made it home. Their families received no bodies, only silence and memorials. Lake Superior never gives up her dead. The cold preserves bodies in its depths, locking them in a steel tomb. Theories that persist. Despite the new findings, some still believe in alternative explanations. The Three Sisters theory refuses to fade. Witnesses on the Anderson reported seeing massive waves striking in succession, waves tall enough to smash steel. Another theory suggests harmonic resonance, where the storm's frequency matched the ship's natural vibration, shaking it apart from within. And then there are the fringe ideas: magnetic anomalies, unexplained sonar readings, whispers of a haunted lake that claims ships without warning. But even without the supernatural, the story is chilling enough. The truth beneath the waves. The final report clears the crew of any wrongdoing. These were professionals, doing everything they could. The problem wasn't their actions. It was the ship, a small flaw, a missing clamp, an overlooked vent. Combined with a brutal storm and heavy cargo, it was enough to bring down a giant. The Edmund Fitzgerald wasn't sunk by the sea. She was betrayed by design. The legacy? The wreck still rests at the bottom of Lake Superior. Out of respect for the families, no salvage operations have ever been attempted. A beacon now marks the Whitefish Bay shoreline. Memorial plaques honor the crew. And each year, on November 10th, a bell tolls 29 times at the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum, once for each soul lost aboard the Fitzgerald. The story lives on in songs, poems, and documentaries. Gordon Lightfoot's haunting ballad ensured the legend would never fade. But now, the facts join the folklore. We finally know what happened, not from speculation, but from science. from evidence, and from the silence of a lake that guarded its secret for far too long. What do you think really happened that night? Let us know in the comments, because some stories are too important to stay buried.